Hi, it's Kent and Renee back again with lessons from the book, The Augmentation of Man, a Study in Renaissance. And this is a book, the lessons were received while Kent was in deep meditation. So we want to be clear about where this comes from. It is a channeled book, although Kent is not fond of the word channeling because of its overuse. So anyway, we're going to start with
the Chakras and Kundalini.
And that's chapter
4, pages 73 to 76. The ancients believed the chakras, Sanskrit for wheel, are activated through meditation to achieve consciousness of oneness with the infinite or the creator.
Yeah, and so the wheel spins as they're activated. We're going to take people back to the original intent, how the chakras millennia ago, how man was given that information. We're going back to that time because over the millennia, man has elaborated on the ideas of chakra, and it has morphed from its original intent and become a plethora of ideas that no longer are in alignment to the way it was originally given. And so if you get on the internet, you will see it can be very confusing trying to decipher what this is all about. We're going to simplify it and bring you back to the way that it was originally given to man. And so...
And was given for what? For communication with the ancients and for understanding of the creator.
So the chakras are used for communication with the ancients and through the ancients with the creator, because remember, we cannot communicate directly with the creator because that field is too intense and too sophisticated intellectually for us to understand it. So we need a middleman, so to speak. Those are the ancients. They are ancient preceptors or teachers of the creator. They've never been human, and they've never experienced a physical life. These were beings that were given that.
They expand the universal consciousness.
Right. They expand universal consciousness, and that is the whole directive of the ancients.
So what about the meditation and vibration?
So when we are meditating in a deep meditation, we are raising our vibrational level up. And with that, we are able to become very close to the vibration of our higher self. So we're almost self-consciousness, or almost able to tap into the soul and who we are at the soul level. And so when we raise our vibration to that point, we are able
to open
the Quilarium flap, which is the area in front of the navel in the aura. So it stands out away from the physical body, and that flap opens and allows this communication energy to enter our field.
Which enters the chi. You want to explain how it enters the chi and goes up the chakras as we were told, as we know it.
So we mentioned that 2 of the chakras were added on by man. That is the first and second chakra as we know it in today's world. So the root chakra and the chakra at the bladder that also governs sexuality. Sexuality is
and survival.
It's a biological chemical process. Survival is also part of the first chakra. But the chi lets the life force energy in, and it is the door to that life force, and it provides the instinct of life. So therefore, the root chakra that we would know today as the first chakra is also representative of the survival instinct. That is governed by the chi. So we're going to change things around. Stick with us here, because this is first chakra. The chi is the fifth chakra, and they work together. They're the most important of the chakras. So the chi gives the root feeling.
And also the life energy comes in through that area.
Right. So life force energy comes in through the chi. The chi also lets other energies through, and it gives the root feeling. So therefore, the chi, or the fifth chakra, is also that root, the original and true root chakra.
And it goes up the back of the spine, which all of life is derived from, as far as the humans are concerned, because it controls the being itself, the nerve endings, which control the being. The sheath that goes up through the back.
The chi is in the abdomen, and allows this.
I'm talking about going up the back. How does it work?
This communication energy goes up the back, and it's going to interface with all the. It has the potential of interfacing with all the chakras for deciphering of communication. And that is the only purpose of the chakras, is to communicate with the spiritual realm, with the ancients, who impart a higher understanding to bring us into alignment with universal consciousness.
What it goes through the heart, which gives it the emotion. Then it goes up through the throat, which gives it the language or the sound. Then it goes up to the third eye, which they call the third eye, and it's not right between the eyes. It's within the brain. It's about so big. It's a function, a gland, or not a gland. It's a part of the brain that functions.
It's a chakra.
It's a chakra, and then it goes up the crown. But explain the part of the brain when it hits there.
Okay, so the crown chakra, which is the first chakra, is also a part of the cerebral cortex. So that's a part of the brain that exists on the outermost portion of the brain. What scientific studies have discovered is that during meditation, when our minds are calm and clear, the cerebral cortex is very active during this period of time. And its job is to connect the dots between thought processes and events so that we have full understanding. So we're going to take this thought and that thought, and somebody said this, and I learned that, or I read that, and this event happened. And while we're in this meditative state, it combines all of these. It connects them together to make the understanding clear for us.
Completes the understanding.
So in a meditative process, and when we are communicating with spiritual guides, it's going to act the same way. The crown chakra is going to take the root feeling from the fifth chakra, which is the chi, and it's going to combine it with the emotional aspect that is gained from the reading of the communication energy by the heart chakra, and combine it with the verbal aspect that we hear, the sound, the language that we hear in our head as a form of telepathic communication. That is deciphered by the throat chakra. And then if we have any visuals in that communication, that would come from the third eye chakra. And then the cerebral cortex, or the crown chakra, is going to combine all those senses and the transfer of feelings and thoughts and visual, and connect the dots so that we have complete understanding of that communication that is occurring.
So according to ancient beings, of ancient legend, there are only 5 original chakras.
That's right. So there's not 7. This idea of 7, there's not 14. These are all relatively new ideas that have entered our population. It is not the way that it was originally given.
2,000 years, I guess.
Yeah, possibly. So when we're communicating, there's a loop of communication that occurs. So we start to meditate, and maybe communication comes in, is entering in through the quilarium flap, then the chi, it goes up the back, it goes through all the various chakras to the crown chakra, and then we understand that communication, but perhaps maybe we have a question about that communication. So when we send a question out or a prayer out, it's going to go out the crown chakra, and it's going to interface with universal plasmic cords that's going to replicate that energy of that communication that's coming from us. That's going to be intercepted by the guide that you're communicating with.
That's the process, the communication process that is used.
And then they're going to answer, and that communication is going to come back down, enter back through the quilarium flap, through the chi, go back up the spine, through our chakras, and to our cerebral cortex, the crown chakra, that is going to piece all that back, that information together to form a more complete understanding. So this is the process of communicating through channeling, through true channeling, which the intent of channeling is to bring forth universal consciousness.
Yeah, so I guess you could say universal communication process is given to those that participate
in the origin of universal consciousness.
Okay.
So those chakras are not activated for anybody. They're only activated for the purpose of imparting an understanding that is going to give you a piece of that universal consciousness. And only those chakras are activated at the time of communication. They don't remain open. They only open up or are activated for purposes of deciphering that communication and during the communication process.
So give me 2 ways to stimulate the chakras.
So there is a default, which is not the true stimulation. If you wanted to stimulate your chakras, right? It's called symbolic stimulation, and it arises out of a person's desire to open their chakras. It is not the true stimulation of the chakras. It's not for the intent of communication. It's only, it could be ego involved. It could be for purposes that we've been taught that are not aligned to the original intent of the use of chakras.
So the true stimulation.
The true stimulation is when one is aligned to the energy field of the earth, and also at the same time the universal consciousness. And this is accomplished during deep meditation. And then one is aligned to the vibrational energy of the communication that is coming in, so that that can be deciphered. And at that time, then the chakras are activated according to the type of communication that is imparted. So I imagine if it was a dense understanding, meaning having a lot of ideas packed into this very complicated sort of conceptual understanding, you probably have more chakras activated to clarify that understanding. Maybe you'll have a visual come in, maybe you'll hear words, and maybe you'll have this emotional aspect or a gut feeling that's going to accompany that very complicated idea that they're trying to teach. Simpler things, maybe you'll only have 1 or 2 chakras that are activated to complete that understanding.
Okay, since we've known now what chakras are, explain Kundalini, which comes forth from universal consciousness.
Kundalini is a part of universal consciousness. It springs forth. It's delivering that energy of the universal consciousness. But it is not the way that man represents it. Again, like the chakras, it has morphed in its understanding. So the Kundalini is a movable energy field bringing forth universal consciousness. And it moves in accordance to the alignment of Earth with other planets in our solar system.
It has to do with the magnetic fields then.
And their magnetic fields and the impact or the influence of those fields on that communication and where it's being channeled to. And so it's also dependent on the core of the Earth, which is, we've got heavy, metals, nickel, and iron, and they have a magnetic tendency, and so
Earth has
that's
a magnetic
flowing
field. We have a magnetic field. There's a magnetic field around our heart. The body itself has its own magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
So
these are all in a state of flux.
Yeah.
It's all in a state of flux. Yeah. And the Earth's magnetic field is in a state of flux, and it's also dependent on the flow of the magma in the core of the Earth. And then that is correlated to the planets, which are also moving, so in their orbits.
So
and
everything is within the solar system is moving in relation to each other, basically.
Right.
And it either gels on the same vibrational, same vibrational magnetic field or vibration, or it doesn't. And when it doesn't,
I imagine that this energy flow, it's moving about the Earth in different ways. And so I think one of Drumbelow Melchizedek's book explains that pretty true to its original intent.
Yeah. So with that, keeping your mind open and think about what we just said, and read the website and think about how this works. Now, the ancients, like I said, used to follow the 5 chakras, and for directional purposes, to communicate with the Creator.
And he's talking about ancient humans in this context.
Ancient humans in this context. So we have to keep our mind open to be able to look at everything and find out, does this feel right? Does it fit right? Or maybe it doesn't. So it's up to you to express if you're learning from this.
And I think too,
and remember, we are still learning also.
Right. But keep in mind that, there's people who have been teaching the newer form of this understanding with the chakras because of the way they were taught. And there's no judgment on that, but we need to, as a society, to correct, and we need to bring it back to the original understanding of how this works.
If you do your research, you'll find out. I mean, real research, not just asking somebody who
dig way back in history.
Yeah, go way back, then you'll find out what we're saying is true.
Anyway, many blessings on your path, and this concludes this lesson, and we hope that you have enjoyed it.
Yeah. Have a great Easter.
Thank you. Bye-bye.